Hi, my name is Galdino Bravo.
And my name is Omar Almanza, and today we're going to be talking to you about what is ideology.
A brief history of ideology. The beginning of this term comes from the French Revolution, meaning coherent systems of ideas and ideals. Another way to think of ideology is the way in which people think about the world. It is a system of ideas that aspire both to explain the world and to change it. Philosophers Karl Marx and Friedrich Hegel came up with questions of how these ideas work and in the service of domination of capitalism. How is it that we use ideas, and how it is that ideas circulate to make people believe and act like the system that we have is a good system, and that we shouldn't revolt against it. Hegel argues that people were instruments of history. They enacted roles that were assigned to them by forces they did not understand. The meaning of history was assigned and hidden from them. Only the philosophers could expect to understand things as they were. Hegelian enterprises of interpreting reality and reconciling the world to itself was condemned by certain critics as an attempt to provide an ideology of the status quo. Ideology in this sense is a set of beliefs in which people deceive themselves. It is a theory that expresses what people are led to think as opposed to which is true. It is a false consciousness.
So, identifying ideology. There are two essential parts when we talk about ideology. It's going to be the base and the superstructure. Base essentially shapes the superstructure and is broken down into two categories: the relation of production and means of production. The relation of production composes the proletariat, the working class, or people getting the work done. Everyone who isn't part of the proletariat is part of the bourgeoisie. So for means of production, this is how stuff actually gets made. So the bourgeoisie are the owners of production. So essentially, the base doesn't necessarily benefit most people on the planet, so that's why we have the superstructure. So for the superstructure, it essentially maintains and legitimates the base. This is where rhetoric happens. In the superstructure, you find the common sense of the system in which we live in, ways in which the rightness of the system is justified through education, religion, family, mass media, politics, and this is what you're supposed to do, and this is what is right. This is the way things should be and how it's supposed to be. Everything not to do with production of society. So ideology is found in superstructure. So for our mnemonic device, we came up with Star Wars, and our character is going to be Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker when you think of this. When you think of ideology, think of Anakin's path to the dark side. His perception of his actions gave birth to one of the most iconic characters in the cinematic universe, Darth Vader. Trying to prevent the death of his wife Padme, Anakin is caught in the middle of choosing to learn the dark side of the Force because they're the only ones that can learn these powers to save the ones they love from death, or letting her die a slow and painful death. He is led to think that only the dark side of the Force is capable of bending and learning this ultimate power because Jedi powers are only meant to be used for justice and defense, nothing else. But in reality, no one has that type of power to bring back or save the ones that they love from death.
In Anakin's eyes, he doesn't see the big picture of his actions. He only sees the importance of learning these powers in order to save his wife, Padme. His actions lead him to go completely against the Jedi Order and completely go to the dark side of the Force. The base would be the people and alien life forms throughout the galaxy, and also the Jedi. Number one, you need people following and obeying laws in order for this to work. In the Star Wars universe, we see the Jedi Council implementing rules to the Jedi of what they can and cannot do. Number two, in Star Wars, the aliens, people, and Jedis are the ones following the rules. The superstructure would be the hierarchy of the Jedi, which is the Chancellor, Palpatine. Palpatine in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, influences Anakin to kill Count Dooku and begin his journey to the dark side of the Force. Anakin knows that he cannot kill Jedis because he can only defend himself against them. So he knows that what he is doing is wrong.
So just to recap of what we went over the history of ideology. So it originally came from the French Revolution. So another way to think of it is a way in which people think about the world. And then we went on to talk about the base and superstructure of ideology. Base essentially shapes the superstructure and is broken down to two categories: relation of production and means of production. And then the superstructure maintains and legitimates the base. This is where rhetoric is found. And then we talked about our mnemonic device, Darth Vader and Star Wars. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.